Hello everyone, I'm Eliud Vasquez Torres, and I'm here with Lisa McCellan, who is the sister of former world middleweight champion Gerald McClellan. When and where was Gerald born?
He was born here where we live in Freeport, Illinois.
When did Gerald exactly started, getting into boxing, his amateur, and, when did it all start from?
About 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
Him and my other brothers, it was something my dad started them doing just to, I think my oldest brother had a problem with a kid at school or something, and the kid kept chasing him home. So this was my dad's way of showing them how to defend themselves. So he went and bought boxing gloves, and that's turned into something they did every day.
When did you and your family realize that Gerald would actually be boxing? He'll make it as a career.
I think after he did so well in the amateurs, probably the first couple of professional fights, or maybe one. I think it was like in 1988. He went to Detroit and got involved with Emanuel. I think that was more when we realized.
Were there any concerns in the beginning, as any family would be, with their brother or a parent about Gerald taking up boxing?
No, because it was. I guess we never really looked at the other side of it because he had done so well. So it was never an issue because he was never really in the ring long enough to get hurt.
It was with Emanuel Steward back in 1991 that he faced John the Beast Mugabe for the vacant WBA middleweight title. That fight was actually
right.
in London. It was another first-round KO for Gerald. How proud as you guys as a family when he brought that title home?
Oh, we were very proud. The women in our family, we didn't really understand the level of him had won a title. That kind of sank in after he won in '93 against Julian Jackson, and then just seeing how his lifestyle changed and things that just really changed for him kind of made us see, what it really meant to have won a title. I didn't realize until probably about a year ago, he started telling me about a Scandinavian tour and telling me all the things that happened. And I hadn't realized that before he got hurt. But those are things that he still remembers. He remembers every single fight except for the fight with Nigel Benn. Every detail.
Yeah. And recently, his trainer, one of his former trainers, Emanuel Steward, passed away. Very sad in the boxing world. What did Gerald have to say about that?
I have not been able to bring myself to tell him yet.
Okay, I understand.
Gerald gets very emotional, and the thing about it is, with his short-term memory being affected, if I talk to him about something, he'll get very emotional, and then an hour later, I'll have to explain everything over again, and he'll become he'll constantly relive it over and over. So I haven't told him yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to.
Yeah, it's.
Joel always told me that Emanuel was like a father to him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's it's sad, unexpected, but Emanuel Steward now is in a better place, and God bless his soul and his family, and I remember Emanuel Steward and him, being in the corner of Gerald, and he's pretty much the one who, I wouldn't want to say who taught him how to fight, but maybe the one who groomed him to become that that kind of a vicious puncher, and God bless him.
I think Emanuel provided Gerald a lot of the discipline that Gerald needed. I think the fighting was always in his blood, I think Emanuel just kind of fine-tuned everything. And in and outside of the ring. I think he kind of, the discipline as far as Gerald's personal life, too.
Yeah.
And I think Gerald, seeing what Emanuel had done for other fighters, was open to letting Emanuel do that.
Right. Now, did Gerald go up to Detroit to train when he was at Manny, or where were the training sessions at?
In the beginning, he lived in one of Emanuel's houses there in Detroit. So he stayed there. And then maybe he'd come home like once a month. But for the most part, he lived there. He lived in Detroit.
Now, did he ever tell you if he liked going up to Detroit to train, or was he homesick when he got back home?
He was always homesick. He came home every chance he could get. I remember times when, a couple times, I guess Emanuel, when he was in training, and Emanuel was against him coming home, and Gerald wanted to come home, and so Gerald, being hot-headed, came home anyway. And I remember a couple times Emanuel Steward came to Freeport to get him. So he came home as much as he could, sometimes too much.
Yeah. Now, there was a time where Emanuel stopped training, or either that, or either Gerald stopped going to Emanuel. Do you remember exactly the last fight that they worked together?
I think the last fight that I remember was, and what happened was, Gerald was training, went to Vegas to train for the second Julian Jackson fight. And I want to say Emanuel was training someone else, and I can't remember exactly who. He sent Gerald to Vegas to train with a guy named Willie Brown. And I think Gerald was upset because Emanuel didn't show up for training camp. But Emanuel was going to be there for the fight. So I think that's what kind of caused the tension. Yeah,
sometimes trainers, they sell themselves thin because they have so many fighters and they can't go to training camp, and it happens all the time. It's just unfortunate that it happened for Gerald.
Yo, DJ, are you done mixing yet?
Your DJ has only just begun.